It's the first session that we are having in this particular year. And so happy New Year to all of you first. And thank you, Sukhvinder, for obliging to take this particular session. And it's an interesting book as well, especially with the blurb that he sent, as Koronaji was mentioning before we were chatting. That's a fantastic blurb that you have said. That has hooked a lot of us. So we are going to wait to see. And I mean, it's the same crowd, so I don't have to go on. I'm going to hand it over to Sukhvinder ji. Over to you, Sukhvinder.
Thanks a lot, one and all. Wishing you all a very happy new year with this first review of 2023. I came across this book some couple of months back. Don't believe everything you think. And being in pressure jobs, being in such a competitive world, we all think a lot. And this topic of the book catch my eye, and I started reading it. And what primarily the author is trying to convey through this book is, it's Joseph Nguyen. We all think. We do this thinking. Everything starts with a thought in a mind, and our mind is so perfect in doing the job. The primary job of our mind is to alert us of the potential dangers in our environment that may threaten our lives. That was valid when we all were living in the wild environments, but it is not valid for now. And the mind is doing its job so well that it will scan our immediate surroundings for threats, and even it will take the reference of our backlog of our past experiences to create hypothetical scenarios and predict the future potential dangers based on our memories. The conscious duty of the mind is to help us feel. The consciousness duty is to help us feel fulfilled, whereas the mind is just keeping us alive. We are not being able to work on the right positive thoughts we have in our minds. The mind is restricting us by the mapping which is being done by the past experiences. It is not comfortable for the mind to make us move from the known territory where we are actually suffering to the unknown territory of real happiness, joy. A thought takes no effort or force on our end, whereas thinking takes a significant amount of energy, effort, and willpower, which is a finite resource. Thinking is actively engaging with the thoughts in our mind. Thinking is the root cause of all our psychological sufferings. Positive thoughts are a byproduct of the state of being, not a state of thinking. What the author has tried to put across here is, we all are thinking a lot. We are looking everything through a perception filter, which we have already built. Our minds are built, and it wants everything to be seen from there. It is not allowing us to explore the unexplored territories, which come in the form of positive emotions and thoughts. We are basically in flow when we are not thinking. We should basically try to acknowledge that this thinking is bringing the real suffering, and we should work on the real positive side of our real thoughts. can we stop here and maybe some of you can share about the overthinking part, the stress, the negative emotion which it drives to this mind in our daily life?
One of the things, Sukhvinder, one of my friend used to tell me when I was much younger, is that everything you dissect and then you bisect and you think too much. On one side, I suffered from it. I mean, everything I will think too much, and then what can go wrong, what we should do, what went wrong, all of those kinds of stuff. Over the period, I have changed a bit. I've seen that it is overthinking, but I still don't know because it has helped me a lot as well. Because let's say, for example, I'm taking a trip to Amritsar, which I did. The first thing that I would say is, I mean, what all can go wrong? There could be, the car could have a breakdown, there could be a puncture, whatever. All of those things I will list it down. But it is not as a negative thinking. It's more of what can go wrong and what can I do to prevent those things from going wrong. So I am not sure, I mean, that overthinking is bad or not. But one thing that I know for sure, overthink paralyzes me a lot, many a times. So I try my best nowadays to go further with that. So that's one thing I would agree with you. The second one is, what I agree with you completely is, we look everything through our perspective. To some extent, it has helped me because I lived sometime for 5 years in Bangalore, 5 years in Delhi, 5 years in Chandigarh. The perception filters are always getting adjusted or renewed, so to speak. So that's why I keep telling everybody, you should move often. You should change places. You should change your, if nothing, change your company. But that I will agree with you. We look everything through a perception filter and we will say this is positive or negative or whatsoever kind of a thing, right? So that there I agree. The second thing that you said, overthinking, I am not very sure whether it is right or wrong. I'm still analyzing.
So
Joseph, what
may
you
I?
said is sorry.
Yeah, Pranali.
Go ahead, Corona.
Joseph, what you said is not overthinking. It is, I believe, strategic thinking.
Okay.
Because you are trying to prevent anything that may go wrong. So it is strategic thinking. It is not overthinking. Overthinking is when you keep on thinking only and doing nothing. That is overthinking. So yes, again, as far as the filters are concerned, I completely agree with both of you. But I think you should think positively about yourself, that you are doing strategic thinking, not overthinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Gaurav?
So there was this lovely saying by Marcus Aurelius. This was this old Roman philosopher and leader. And he says, your happiness is, based on the quality of your thoughts.
Yeah.
And, I have been guilty of overthinking what Sukhinder is talking about. Because overthinking starts coming into our, starts creeping in when we face failure, when things are not going as well as they should. That is, particularly when overthinking starts. You start worrying about even smaller things. What will happen if this goes wrong, and you kind of get worried. That worry thing, that stress he's talking about, and probably, I've gone through it. And I can tell you one thing, that the only thing that changes this, how you get out of this is, when you realize, when you are aware of yourself, you realize that it's how you look at things that matters.
Yeah.
So when I lost everything, I was always cribbing, I always crying over it. But then when I realized it was the money that I had made, self-made, that changed a lot of things. So Sukhvinder, when you carry on from here, I'm listening very, I'm very interested in the topic. and I've been through what you're talking.
It's I think it's more of what what you're sharing is more of a perfection syndrome, which we all try to go through. We want everything to be perfect. The author here is trying to classify this thing into two. Whenever we are thinking, we are either focusing on the past or the future, what has already happened or what is in the future lying, which is not in front of us. What the author is trying to say is we should focus on the present. The happiness lies here. We should we should stop that thinking part, and we should just try to bring the right atmosphere for the thoughts to flow. And through those thoughts, through that positivity, we should do the actions. He has time and again, he has said in this book, for taking the right action, take the action, do the action, stop thinking, because we should believe in the universe, the power of universe consciousness. And he has tried to say we should work on our gut feeling, the intuition. What the author has clearly said in the book, that your gut is the God. What your inner self is telling you, we all obviously in during our lot of decisions, a lot of things we all come across. This gut feeling is very important. We should stick to it. We should believe what it is saying. We should trust the source. When we put in analytical mind, it fails. We should not try to filter everything through this mind, and we should focus more on the present scenario. We should focus on doing things rather than preparing ourselves, overcooking things, and preparing to be the perfect. So that's what I think you were trying to say. Maybe you can add something more on this.
Um, if I have not read the book. So if later you would elaborate on the actions he's talking about, then probably I'll understand better. Otherwise, it's very easy to say, don't think about the past, don't think about the future. But again, it's easy to say. Is he trying to say that you keep yourself busy in your thoughts? Because my entire planning, or everything that I do is to, you know, plan my assets and my life for the future. I do everything today, but I definitely, I don't know about the others, but I definitely plan for the future. I cannot, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do anything. If I was so comfortable with what I have and with my present self, I would not be hungry enough to plan for the future. I am a responsible son, father, husband. So I have a responsibility also, that I am trying to do things, build things for my family. And that entire thing is based on us being able to plan for the future. So to say that don't think about the future, I kind of disagree. That even if somebody tells me don't do it, I still have some plans, and everybody has some plans for the future. Somebody else might add to it, please.
Yeah, maybe we are jumping before Sukhvinder can go ahead, but I have 2 points to make here, Sukhvinder. One, it is nice to say depend on the gut feeling, but how do I develop a gut feeling? Now, especially since you have experience running a company, I have over 50 years, I have gained something. But young guys like, say, for example, Hitin or Darshan, how can I go and tell them depend on gut feeling? They may not have developed that gut feeling because they have not seen life so much. Maybe they will make a mistake. So that's one question I have. Maybe we will find answers as we go forward. The other one is, in my individual life, as an individual, maybe I can do gut feeling. I can work on gut feeling, and a lot of things we work on gut feeling. As a matter of fact, a lot of things are gut feeling. We don't think as Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, they have discovered, it's a system 1 and a system 2 thinking, and we primarily work on system 1, very fast response and everything. So that is accepted. But in a corporate setting, if a CEO would always go with the gut feeling, I think people will leave. One day he will say something, another day he will say something, because for him it will look correct. This is the thing that we should do. But the group will not understand it. They won't have the same kind of a symphonical gut feeling. Then they will think that this guy is crazy, right? So that is another thing that I found wrong. But again, we'll wait for you to give us answers.
I would like to add something here. I kind of, like what Arthur is saying, and I feel like that I may have been living that kind of life. I do use gut feelings, but I think gut feeling is more restricted towards my personal life. I don't do gut feelings when it comes to official work. So let's say if I'm working and doing involved in a particular project, so my thinking process would be very analytical, based on data, because obviously that's how world works. But I think what Arthur is trying to say is about thinking and overthinking and all that is more about happiness of a personal, limited to personal, let's say, circumference or person's personal, happiness. So I think I kind of live that, because honestly, I don't really cry over the spilled milk. So I don't try to think what has happened. What has happened is happened, because there is nothing I can do about it. It's done. I can just use it as a lesson or a, as a teaching, and then try to not do that thing again. If it's bad, obviously. If it's good, I may repeat it. And yeah, I don't think much about future. I kind of go with the flow. And I think that's pretty much what my understanding. I haven't heard Sukhwinder talk the whole thing, but I'm just thinking that, yeah, it kind of makes sense to me. I relate to it a lot, that it absolutely makes me happy wherever I go. I've lived here, I've lived outside. So I kind of just go with the flow, and I don't plan things. They just happen. They just happen to me. And whenever they happen, I accept them, and I'm always happy. Yeah, so that's about it. So I think it works different in different kind of setups.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Nitin. Yeah, go ahead, Sukhwinder.
So Sukhwinder, remember the book? I think Joseph remembers. We covered it in the same forum. Die with Zero. And he too. Now I'm relating to what you are going to say, and I'm thinking it's also going to be similar. That he was also talking about actions that we do today, rather than wait for things to So yeah, very very interesting. Now after Hitin's point of view, now I'm waiting for the actions to come in.
What primarily this intuition part was, we should keep it alive. We should keep it alive, and we should not close that intuition part. We should not let the mind dictate everything out of what all past experiences it is having or the mapping it has done. There is no other answer to why we feel negative emotions other than that it is from our own thinking. Everything can be traced back to our thinking, which makes problem solving very simple. Once we realize that our thinking is causing how we feel, we can let go of it, and we return to our natural state of peace. What the author is trying to say of a natural state of peace, love, and joy. What he has given some examples also, like we take an example of a face of a child. Whenever we see a child, he's happy, he's in joy, because he's not thinking. We adults have built this habit of converting each and every positive thought which is coming to our mind into a negative emotion. We try to extract what bad could happen, what are the future threats to us, and we try to convert it into that. So we don't live in reality, we live in the perception of reality, which is created by our own thinking. The thoughts are not in our minds are not facts. Our thinking only has control over us if we believe it. Let go of the belief in the thought to let go of the suffering. We need to acknowledge that this suffering is only and only because of the thinking. And this is what the author is trying to say in this part. And I think we had shared on LinkedIn also about the goals. So let me cover that part also, because it's quite a lengthy book. We must read this, and there are two sources of goals. When we set our goals are created out of inspiration, and goals are created out of desperation. Mean goals and dreams may excite us in a moment. As soon as we begin to try to create it, we feel a lack and we are desperate to bring the dream to life. When we create goals out of inspiration, we are creating because we feel deeply moved, inspired. It feels like a calling rather than obligation. We feel pulled by a force to create something. Divine inspiration is an incredible expansive force that energizes and lifts us, makes us feel like we are high on life. As soon as we begin to think about the thoughts of us wanting to create, it completely shuts off the source of that inspiration, and we go back to living life as usual. The author, what he is trying to say is, our minds are driving us back to that normal life what we are living. The problems what all we have can't be solved with the same mindset. We obviously have to have fresh thoughts. We should try to avoid this the slavery of this mind, which is trying to capture all our actions. We should focus on the present, and we should work with the fresh thoughts. He has very strongly insisted on building a morning ritual also. So maybe some of you can share about the rituals, what all you have maybe in the morning to kickstart the day with the flow, so that in the day you can have that sort of creativity and you can build on it. Maybe some one of you can have to share about the rituals, morning rituals.
Nitin, you want to go? Do you have any morning
Well,
rituals?
honestly, I I don't have ritual, right? So because I don't plan anything for my personal thing. So if I had to, come up with a ritual, I'll tell you, just like my regular routine will be just getting up, having coffee, and sometime make breakfast. Uh, so that's how I start my day usually. And when I have to go to office, I'll skip the break. So that's my thing.
You really live out of gut feeling.
Yeah, kind. So yeah. So that's about it. And I was reading actually one of JJ's blog. It was in fact the first blog that I read. It's about I think something like, you can either be a salt or a lotus and a monk. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph. Somewhere I think these three guys. So I resonated with the monks. I felt like I'm that monk. Even though he was talking about monks could be somebody who leaves here and goes to Canada or something. But it was more about, I think monk is So my routine is basically, or morning ritual is more like monk. So if it works, it works. I move on. Today I can have breakfast. I will have breakfast. Tomorrow I can not have breakfast. I don't have time for breakfast. It's fine. I'll figure it out on the way. So my morning rituals, I don't have a morning ritual, but it goes like that. I'm that monk from his blog who just goes with the flow. I'm not happy here. I'll move on to something
I
else. I
have to
will be
know,
happy
Hiten,
somewhere
are you
else.
married? Hiten, I
I
have to
am.
know, are you
He
married?
is.
Okay.
I am. I have 2 kids as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
Jimmy, what's your morning rituals?
You mean mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm completely opposite. I'm sorry, I'm old school. It's probably the age, Hiten. But
Hey, Gaurav, yeah, if at all anybody can say age, it should be Kurana and me.
yeah, Khurana ji to is a superstar.
He's always young.
Yes, but yeah. So my ritual would be, a very fixed cup of tea, a very fixed learning time that I have. I make sure that I'm learning because I spend a lot of time on myself. So I have about 90 minutes in the morning that I spend on myself. I spend at least 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes on exercise. I spend about half an hour on a newspaper doing Sudoku and all that stuff. So it's like I have a ritual. I am again guilty of all those old school things, but I have a ritual, and I'm in office by about 9 o'clock.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so all that is my morning thing.
Wonderful.
Exercise has taken a toll in these cold wave that I don't go out for a walk at all now. And I'm like, no way, I'm not going out because there's this kind of mist kind of things falls. You get wet if you go out and things like that. Otherwise, yeah, that's a ritual that I follow.
Wonderful. Shubham, Pradeep, do you have any rituals? Joyce? Shubham, do you want to say anything?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any rituals?
Yes, sir. In the morning, I don't have fixed timings, but I take half hour for reading and for 10 to 15 minutes morning walk. That I have fixed. So sometimes when I woke up at 6 a.m., then also I will do that. Or if I wake at 8, then also I will do that. But I have half hour for reading and 15 minutes for morning walk.
Okay, wonderful. Pradeep,
Good.
Joyce?
I get up in the morning and I try to make my kid get ready and send her to school. That's my morning ritual.
Parents, morning routine. Joyce, you have any morning routines?
Yeah, it's similar to what Pradeep said. So get up, get up, make her ready, make her go to school. And of course, after that, what I do is I spend some time for my research before I start my work. Otherwise, after I start, nothing happens, right? So it's a roller coaster anyway. So before that, I just do something on my research.
Okay. I have a very fixed, or rather, I have a routine, morning rituals. I have about 9. If I do about 5, that day is good for me. I wake up. Again, it's all. My sister knows. Joyce knows. My dad woke me up at 5:30 every day, including Sunday holidays when I was young. Now I wake up at 5 to 5:30 without alarm. I'll wake up whatever time I go to bed. I will wake up at 5 to 5:30 without an alarm, and I will roll on for some time, and then the first thing that I do is read Bible and pray, meditation. Something I will do. Then me and my wife will hold our hands and we will pray, and just for a couple of minutes, not a long prayer, but just a couple of minutes. But then also it gives us an opportunity to talk to each other, and then just how did the day go yesterday? What's happening? What should we do? Something like that we can talk. And then she will bring coffee also in the morning, so we'll sip and drink that. And then for half an hour I will either read something or produce something. I'll create something, or I will read something, I will learn something, whatever it is, and then I'll go for a walk or workout. Nowadays, I'm not working out, but Gaurav, even now I'm going for a walk, 30 to 45 minutes. I'll go for a walk, listening to a podcast. So that's again a consumption and something that I'm learning. So I'll do that. And then again, take bath, breakfast. That's when our homeschooling starts. So we'll have to be on the table with the kids for homeschooling. So that's another. So until my breakfast, it's a very, very strict schedule that I have almost on everyday basis, except 1 or 2 days, except probably like Saturdays and Sundays, except 1 or 2 days. It's a very, very fixed schedule. I wouldn't call myself a military sergeant, but
8 बज गए, नाश्ता कहाँ है?
Yes. I hope my kids are not listening to this, but they will say it.
Okay. I'm actually going to pick up some rituals. I like it. Like the one that you said, where you were talking to your wife in the morning. I think that's
Every
a good
day.
one.
Every
That's
day.
a good one.
I've been doing this. I would highly recommend everybody to do it. Your marital life will change. And I'm married for 16 years, but then I did that. I started doing it only in the last 3 years. I can see a dramatic change in our relation.
Right.
I would recommend everybody to.
Joseph, my wife is dangerous in the morning.
No, wives are dangerous everywhere, anytime.
Every time, yeah.
But
Every time.
There
is one thing. I want to add one thing to the rituals, but my rituals change, based on the things. Like, for example, I sometimes go for races. I go for, marathons and stuff. So when I have those things coming up, my rituals will change. Like, maybe 2 or 3 months before, I will start that practice. So maybe I do a little bit of, planning and thinking there. So that's how ritual changes.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Sukhwinder and everybody else also, one thing that I've been going in my mind, what I'm seeing in the latest trend of books is that they take this Eastern philosophy. By the way, all of the religious things are all Eastern religion, including Christianity is an Eastern religion because it came in, Middle East, which is again Eastern part of this. What it seems to me is that they take up the Eastern philosophies, they cut off the God part of it, and then they put everything else. See, you take all of these religions. I am not very well versed about Quran or the Muslim philosophy, but at least the Hindu philosophy and Christian philosophy, I think I am reasonably good at. What I'm observing is most of these things that they are talking about is like, live in the present, don't do this. There's a divine inspiration. The world will conspire to give you what you want. All of this is kind of the Eastern philosophy without God part of it. If you take, if you talk to a Hindu or a Hindu philosopher, he will say, karma will give you back. If you do good, good will come to you, right? Krishna will lead you, whatever. They will have a God in that particular thing, right? If you talk to a Christian person, he will say, God will lead you in the path that you have to go, whatsoever, right? What it appears to me is for the secular world, which is mostly the Western world, which has become now, even though it used to be a lot more religious earlier, to sell to them, they come here, they take up all of this Eastern philosophy, cut off God part of it, and then they kind of write this. This is what I am feeling nowadays, having read some of these books. Who will die when you cry? Who will cry? Who will cry when you die? Or any of those, the monk who sold the Ferrari. It all started from there, right? If you read all of these genre, for me, that's what it looks like. I don't know if anybody has any observations on that.
Because the gods are different in different countries or different regions of the world, different regions of this planet. So that's why they have cut the god but kept everything else, because it sells. And every author wants to sell, become a saleable author. So it is just marketing thing, and you are 100% right. And in a lighter vein, I want to add one thing. When Sukhvinder says the author wants us to convey that don't bother about the future and don't live in the past, just come to PK Khurana. That's all.
Exactly.
Khurana ji, you are a sellable person. I don't know why you are not written a book. It will go millions of copies.
I plan to.
Go ahead, Sukhvinder.
Yeah, sure. So with this, basically the author is trying to guide us to stop thinking by, we should create a morning ritual, activation ritual. Actually, he says morning activation ritual to help us start our day in a peaceful and non-thinking state. We should use this space to receive insights from infinite intelligence to help us navigate through life. Something what you have just now said, Joseph. So,
yeah, see, if you took the early Hindus, I mean, I don't know how many of them are following today, they'll have this sun worshipping ritual.
Yeah.
Everybody will get out. I mean, they will do that. We can debate the logic of it, but that was a morning ritual. And then it gave them whatever that you were talking about, the divine inspiration and all of those kind of, and then Christians have that kind of a ritual as well. So this is why I'm saying, right, this guy could have easily said, go out and do yoga in morning, right? I mean, so that's what my interpretation is.
Yeah. So basically, thinking and thoughts are two different things. This is something important. Thinking is a verb and requires our manual effort, which causes suffering. Thoughts are nouns, which do not come from us and are divine downloads from the universe. We think because it is a biological response to survive. Our minds think only because it is trying to keep us alive, but it does not help us thrive. It is only concerned with our safety and survival, but not our fulfillment or the true happiness, joy. Thinking holds us back from our highest selves by causing negative feelings within us that prevent us from following our true calling, the gut feeling. Our minds are limited to our personal experiences. If we want to receive insights, creativity, knowledge beyond the capability of our current self, simply we should choose to listen to the infinite intelligence rather than our finite mind. This infinite source of truth is available to all of us at all the times if we allow it to be. Universal intelligence is the energy that is energy in this universe. It's a source of where everything comes from, that is before form, and we are made up of it. This energy has a feeling, which is the feeling of love, peace, and joy, connection, and well-being. This is what we fall back into when we let go of our thinking, and it's a natural state. So on this, on the universal intelligence part and the consciousness, what is tried to focus, that we should not let this limited knowledge what we have in our minds, the experiences, the past experiences, or the mind mapping which is trying to drive us, we should focus, we should put more, we should let it go, we should try to trust the intuition, the gut part. We should try to create that space for the fresh thoughts to get in, to be more creative and to be able to build something worthwhile. So maybe some of you can share or on these thoughts.
So, Sukhvinder ji, I have a question, please. You've read the entire book now. and you have understood the message that the author has been saying consistently, does it change you?
Yes, it has changed me a lot.
Okay, great. I would like Joseph also to elaborate something that we have heard that will, I believe, will be a very wonderful value addition.
Thanks, Kuranaji. Sukhinder, I would like to hear how you have implemented it and how it has changed, right? I mean, that would be a lot more interesting to us, I believe, than the abstract thing this guy is saying.
It's been, I think, a couple of days, but what I have seen is I have stopped overthinking on lot of things. I have started to let it go. Let the thing come. I'll decide on my intuition, and I am feeling much more peaceful inside. I have lot more thoughts, which are obviously positive. I am being able to solve the problems in a much lighter way with less use of energy. I'm not overcooked nowadays. I'm more and more relaxed. I think I have shared with Joseph and others also in earlier also that after in the second half of my day, I keep some time for myself. And I didn't knew that this was the thing, but it is the right thing. This is the time when I actually detach myself from the work and I stop thinking of anything and I give myself that time for creating that space for creativity, because in my work I have to think on a lot of concepts, innovation, and new development. So whenever I give that space to myself, I have seen that I have come out with new solutions and possibilities, opportunities.
Okay. So two comments here. One, the one thing that the author seems to emphasize, or rather 2 points that you mentioned, but at least 1 point he starts with is that we are all prisoners of our own perception. We look at everything with a perception filter, and that perception is made because of the experience that we have. And that I resonate. And all of us, I think, because of success and failures. I had a lot of failures until probably about 34, 35. So everything that I touched would go to ashes or would be wrong. So as GB was also sharing earlier, because of that, everything I had to think multiple times, because anything that I did was wrong. It was going wrong. So anytime I would attempt something new, will this be okay? Will I lose money? Will I get into an accident? I had to think through a lot of these things because I faced failures all the time. Whereas if I would have faced success continuously, probably I would have said, let's go with gut feeling because everything is working out fine, right? So that is one thing that I would say. I think the perception filter is real, but that perception filter is also formed by your experiences. As I said, at some point in time, after about 33 or so, I did change my perception, and it was a huge emotional roller coaster. It took me like 3-4 years of it was really like, somebody is twisting my body kind of a thing. I had to go through that mental shift. But after that, it became a lot more easier. Now, I don't have a problem in starting something like this or any other thing. Sukhwinder has been with me from day one of whatever I have done. So he knows I've tried starting a podcast or this or so many different ventures, right? It's a gut feeling, basically. I don't know whether this will give me something, but I just start. That's because of the successes that I have had, subsequently. So I would say that your perception is formed by your experiences, but the success and the failure determines that particular perception filter. You may have to tweak it when you say change the situations. And that is another reason why I keep shifting my company, city, living place, and so on and so forth. I think it was to Hitin, I was commenting that except my wife, I have changed everything. Everywhere I will change every 2-3 years kind of a thing. So that keeps me a different filter every time, because I'm changing the cities and the companies and the languages and so on and so forth. That's one. Two, what I would say, I'm going back to the previous one, probably it would be better all of us go and dig deeper into the spiritual truths of where we came from, wherever we are, like, I mean, Hindus, Christians, Sikhs, wherever we are. The thing is, it has become unfashionable to pick up Bhagavad Gita and read, and Bible and read, or whatever the Sikh book and read. It has become unfashionable. Oh, you are old fashioned. I mean, what are you reading, right? And also to think through some of these rituals that have been prescribed in these books. These books are Lindy books. They have survived for thousands of years. There is a reason for that. Thousands of years these books have, I mean, let's say, for example, 3 years afterwards, if you talk about this particular book, I don't think anybody would remember. But, Gita, Bible, I mean, they have survived for thousands and thousands of years, right? Why I'm saying it is, one of the ritual that is mentioned in Bible is about Sabbath, which is the Sunday being a rest day. For Jews, it is to be, Saturday, but one day being a rest day. For a very long time, I didn't practice it. Nowadays, it is, again, military sergeant for my kids. No device on Sunday, no device. So we go to church, we come back until evening 6 o'clock, no device. Nobody, I mean, not even I take up a device. And every day after 8:30 or 9, no device. There is a technology Sabbath, there is a physical Sabbath, and I'm trying to extend that as well. The one reason why I'm saying this, Sukhvinder, I'm tying back to, it also came from whatever that practice that you said. I picked it up from there. You spend half a day every week just thinking through this. I said, that is what Sabbath is. Cut off from the world, cut off from all the activities, give rest to your body, give rest to your soul, and then recuperate, right? So even, like, say, for example, for the last 2 months, I have not sent any newsletter at all. And this podcast, this Gravitas Wind show, all of this I stopped. Sabbath. Take rest. We do not, especially now, we do not take rest at all. At some point in time, J.K. Galbraith, I think the economist, he said, the productivity will be so high, we will all only work 4 hours a week or 15 hours a week or something like that. It is not true. The more technological advanced, the more we are working and the more anxious we are feeling. Why? Because we need to, I think, go back to those rituals, go back to those principles, and we need to rediscover those principles for our age. That's what I would say.
Very right. Just one thing I want to add on this. Whenever we fail, we all should try to introspect.
Yes.
That we took that decision to be on the path which our intuition was, the gut was giving us the signals, or we took it to be on the safer side where the word would expect us to take. And there is nothing inherent wrong with anyone or anything in this universe, but our thinking makes us think so. We do not have to be fixed because we are not broken.
Yes.
There is only something for us to realize and remember, which is that thinking is the root cause of our sufferings. We do not have to do anything about our thinking. All we have to do is shift our understanding of thinking, and we'll fail back into the truth of who we are, which is beyond our thinking, our body, and everything we think we know. As soon as we let go of our thinking, we become one with infinite intelligence, allowing ourselves to feel a never-ending abundance of love, peace, joy that is always available to us, because that is the true nature. When you make space for infinite intelligence, it makes space for you. And the more we trust it, the more it trusts us. There's never an end to how much space you can make for it. When you prioritize making space in your life and in your mind for infinite intelligence to come through, your life will change. So here this author is trying to say we should, like I have dedicated that time in my daily life. I am spending at least 1 or 2 hours, even today, out of my, I think, 6 hours of working, 2 hours I'm spending to be free of everything. No one should talk to me. I will keep my phone off, or I'll keep it at a place, and I focus. I just try to detach my mind, myself, from thinking on anything. I try to get into that zone of non-thinking and to cherish the infinite intelligence which flows. And I think that that is within us. We just need to have that trust and faith in that intuition, and we should try to we should get closer to what we actually want to do. That is within us. Yeah.
I remember reading about Steve Jobs when he came to India and turned in, he converted to Buddhism, converted or he started practicing, or whatever we can say. I remember reading more about him, that after that he returned to America after his practice and knowledge of Buddhism was over in India. He started something in his office called as No Time. This is basically the same thing that you were saying. So they started calling it No Time. So No Time is basically like half an hour in his office where nobody can come and talk to him. It would be just him sitting in the chair. That's it. No calls, no emails, nothing. He's just doing that No Time, right? So he's disconnected. So it's pretty much the same thing, and it kind of goes back to what Joseph said as well. They took a bit of from eastern part, and this was something that is part of Buddhism, and probably I think it is also part of Hinduism, because we talk about meditation. And we say that you do that meditation in the morning. You get up, you finish your puja, temple, everything. You do half an hour meditation. That's basically No Time. You're not thinking about anything else. Just sitting there, probably saying Om, all that you're saying, and that you're just analyzing yourself and all those thoughts that come through your mind. Random thoughts that you have never thought about, past, future, whatever. So all that comes. Yeah. So that's probably what he's trying to say, and. Yeah, so I don't know what I was thinking, but I'll come back if I remember.
Yeah, Hiten, like Sukhvinder, the last pieces that you talked about, the last segment that you talked about, I may be getting this wrong. Hindus here, they might be able to explain this far better than me. I have an off-boiled knowledge about this. I think he's combining both the Christian and Hindu philosophy. I'll tell you why, okay? So he talks about like now your intelligence will connect to the universal intelligence and all of those kinds of stuff, right? I mean, when you are talking about it in the Hindu philosophy, I think there is something called Atma and Paramatma. And Paramatma. You have, right? And you connect with the Paramatma, and then, and it'll lead you, it'll guide you. That's a kind of a philosophy that's there, right? Atma and the Paramatma, which is what he is talking about. I mean, whatever is said in Sanskrit or Hindi, he's saying it in English. Your intelligence and universal intelligence and whatever that words could be. It's like, I mean, he wants to be like Deepak Chopra, in my opinion. So that's one. Two, love, joy, peace is directly lifted from Bible, the spirit of Holy Spirit. Exactly the same, sequence, love, joy, and peace. So for me, he is combining these two without really giving credit to that. For me, that would borderline hypocrisy. Because like that's what it is, like Atma and Paramatma and love, joy, peace, which is again spirit, the Holy Spirit, and that, right? So that's what I would say. I think I'll go back to this again. I think all of us will have to go back to whatever books that we were supposed to read, rather than getting tidbits from these authors, Deepak Chopra authors.
Isn't this guy actually doing an overthinking on his thinking itself? Like he's overthinking that he is thinking too much. Isn't that what he's doing?
I have no idea. I wouldn't give too much to that. Kuruna, do you want to add anything? I mean, you
Yes,
know
please.
this
Yes,
lot
please.
more.
I wanted to say one thing. You remember the podcast we had on happiness, joy, and bliss, wherein I explained the concept that we are all made up of atoms and molecules, and it is the same thing. You combine the pixels and you can make any kind of picture, whether it is Jesus or Krishna or Gandhi or PK Khurana or Joseph. These are only pixels that you combine in different order. In the same way, you combine the molecules, and you become either wood or iron or steel or water or whatever. So basically, science also goes to some extent to explain these things. So this is how you connect to the higher authority or the universe or whatever. And in Hindu philosophy, we say nirakar, a thing that doesn't have any shape, and it can have any shape. So this is the only explanation I have as of now. Maybe somebody else can add to it. Maybe even Gaurav can add to it.
I'm probably not gonna add on the spiritual side. I'm not probably gonna add there. But what I can say is what I get of what he's saying and what Hitin said. It's because I plan. Now I spend only 2 hours a day working on my company. Rest of the time, I have to myself to do whatever, meet people, walk, take my dog out, walk, play with my kid, because I am able to do that work in the morning. Because I'm able to, kind of be comfortable about my future, is because I am comfortable today. In the present, I'm very comfortable today. I'm very creative. I'm learning music. I'm doing things. I'm doing the things I want to, just because, and I think the reason is that because my future looks better, you know, and because I'm like, planning for the future, I'm able to make my present better. So for them to say, stop thinking about the future, stop thinking about the past teaches me constantly. I always am reminded of the mistakes I made. I don't repeat them. So past for me is a barometer of, like, knowing what not to do. Future is something I keep planning for, but I do live in the present, and the spiritual side or not, all of us today, and I think COVID changed a lot of things on our perception, that we all started appreciating life, to an extent that all of us have become a little more spiritual than we you were before. I meditate every day, and I make it a point to, like, kind of introspect, look inside, look where I am, and but the only thing I'm, not connecting to, everything else is fine. I don't connect to, not thinking about the future or the past. I know it's the state of utopia, and we all say gut feeling and everything. I can have gut feeling because my future is secure.
Yes. Thanks.
Thanks,
Jim.
I can do things I want to. I can have that intuition. My work is much better because I allow my people to create. I allow everybody to flow. But again, because I feel the future is secure.
Wonderful.
So I think it's all interconnected, and those were my thoughts.
Thanks, GB. Joyce, Darshan, Pradeep, do you want to make any final comments?
No, I'm good. Like
okay.
Yeah.
Joyce. Pradeep, you want to say
I'm
anything?
good too.
Even I'm good. Nothing for me.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Sukhvinder, thank you for the book. And I think we had a very good, engaging session. Next week, we might be all, we may not have, it's Pongal. I think the whole bunch of people are going to be off. So next week, we may not have. Week after that, Ashwini is going to review a book. Hiten, would you want to review